Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Fat Man Little Trail, the podcast where everyone is invited on the trail. I, of course, am your host, Greg the Fat Man, founder of fatmanlittletrail.com and 13hikes.com. Make sure you check out fatmanlittletrail.com for all of your hiking needs and wants, including product reviews and trail reviews and all of that good stuff. So, one thing that is a little bit different, I want to get into my chewing the fat segment real quick here. The other half of my hiking website is also all about food because as a hefty hiker, you have to have a healthy relationship with food or an unhealthy relationship with food, depending on how you look at it. I like to go to restaurants after each hike, locally owned restaurants to help support the local communities that we are recreating in. But my guest today has the perfect solution for those of you who want to bring food with you and do kind of like a picnic on a day hike. I'm talking to Marty Cowan, the author of this book right here, for those of you on YouTube, Table to Trail, Plant-Based Portable Recipes for Day Hikers. Marty, nice to meet you. Thanks for being on with me.
Thank you, Greg. Thanks for having me. I'm super stoked.
I am stoked as well. Marty, just to get us started out, what is your background as far as like the outdoors and hiking and cooking for that matter?
Sure. Great question. So my background isn't super lengthy and long. I'm one of those late to the party, late bloomer kind of people. And I didn't really start hiking and doing other things like, yoga and jogging and the other things I do now really until my late 30s. So, and I'm 52 now. So I haven't been doing it super, super long. Didn't grow up doing it. So a little late to the party for that.
But that's perfect because I didn't start hiking until I was in my 40s. To actually, I guess like right at 40, 41. And I think there's a whole generation of people that are doing it later and finding the outdoors, and people are, moving to Colorado and moving to Montana and Idaho and places like that because of that show Yellowstone. And they just want to live that outdoor lifestyle now. So it's great that you found it at least. So that's the important part.
Yeah. I love it. I'm addicted. I live for it. It's just such a passion. And I can't believe I lasted as long as I did without that in my life.
Now that you have hit the trails, what types of trails are you typically looking for? Do you climb all the 14ers? Do you like to just go and relax when you're out there?
I like to do a lot of different things because it depends on who I'm going with or if I'm going solo. It depends on, of course, what the climate is, and it depends on how much time I have too. I love doing day hikes. I'm not a through hiker. I think the through hikers are awesome. That's a completely different community. So I kind of represent the newbies and kind of intermediate hikers that like to just get out as much as possible and they'll do anything, just having trails in the proximity of maybe 5 miles from where you are. There's dream hikes too that are further away. I love to do 14ers as well, but I also love to do the smaller hikes too. I'm not set on doing every 14er out there by any stretch. I've done a handful of the easy ones and they've been really, really fun. More out of curiosity than anything, but there's so many amazing hikes out there that have nothing to do with elevation. So I definitely have an open mind for that.
I agree. I love the day hiking. I through hikers, brilliant. More power to you. I love beds. Like I think, especially as we started later into this game, I think it's more common for people to really enjoy coming home and laying in a soft bed after a hard day on the trail. I know I do for sure. My body doesn't take it anymore. I'm not 20.
Me either. I get it. I get it. I mean, I love, I like camping too. But I'm a little bit more of like, I'd like a cot if we're going to camp kind
of. Absolutely. So you said you didn't start until your late 30s. So what made you change? Why did the change happen?
Well, it was interesting because I'm a product of the 80s, a child of the 80s, and I was born and raised on Diet Coke and doing whatever it takes to be thin. It's just it was ingrained in my head, not really from my parents because they were excellent parents and wonderful people, but more from, I guess, from a society standpoint. So it never, ever occurred to me to eat healthy it never occurred to me to really exercise all that much. So I was on this cyclical pattern of overeating, and then feeling terrible. Then I would starve myself. Then I would lose some weight. Then I would feel great. And then it was momentary that I felt great. And then I would get back right on the same pattern again, which would be to celebrate maybe with eating too much, or having too much celebration, and then just starting that pattern over and over again. So I guess I was around 37 or 38. And at that point, I was waking up in the morning and my hands were really stiff. So I could feel kind of the onset of maybe some arthritis coming on. And I was really piecing together how food was maybe playing a role in this. I have family with diabetes and other conditions due to lifestyle choices. And it really just kind of hit me all at once. I just thought to myself, I do not want to do this. And how can I make this better for myself? And I knew at that point, if I made it better for myself, I could make it better for my family and friends, and I could be living a better, more healthful and happier life. So that was really the epiphany. It was really like a fork in the road just came in front of my eyes one day. And I just thought, I've got to get off this roller coaster and I need to figure things out. And I know the way to start is going to be with food. I don't know where I'm going to go from there, but I'm going to start with food. And that's what I did.
But it wasn't only food that made that transition. It was a whole mindset. You started like yoga and exercising as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But it definitely, the catalyst was food for sure. And then I started to jog a little bit. And then a friend gave me a call and said, "Hey, do you want to do triathlon?" And I was like, "What's that?" basically. And so I said, "Sure, I'll do it." And I did. And it was a comedy of errors, just the most ridiculous thing. And, but very fun, and had a group of people. And from that, I discovered really the spirit of the event that I was so in love with. It wasn't even necessarily the athleticism and goals. I really wasn't interested in any of that, which is not super common, I would say. But when you gather before you start and they play the national anthem or they have someone come sing, you have this collective gathering of a mindset of everyone's there to support everyone. And that to me was so attractive. Like, I just thought that was the greatest thing ever. So I just began jogging. And so, like I said, it started with food, and then just slowly built on that with, little events and, 5Ks, 10Ks, half marathons, little triathlons, things like that. And I also took to the woods around that point too, and started really enjoying the nature, and, the trees and all of the healing that came from that as well. So there was a lot. And I don't think I realized at the time how much healing really needed to be done. Of when you're on a pattern like I was, of self-sabotage for, since I was 16 years old, that's a long time. So that was another thing I really thrived on, was getting out in the woods and just hiking. And I was in Maryland at the time. I'm in Fort Collins, Colorado now, and we've only been here not even 5 years yet. So I was out on the East Coast for, the vast majority of my life. So I started hiking out there.
I feel like, because I grew up in like the Midwest in the Chicago area, and I feel like health and fitness is different by region in the country. So like when you're living out on the East Coast where it snows like 14, inches an hour, or in Chicago where it just gets bitter cold. And then you come out to Colorado and there's so many nice days that it kind of helps that mindset change, right?
Definitely. I think the humidity factor is a big one too. And also the sunshine factor. So out in the Midwest, both my parents are from Illinois. So I'm actually going there next month. So I understand that area pretty well. And I think sunshine factor is a big one. Humidity is also a big one, because even when you bring in humidity with winter weather, it's bone chilling cold and it's awful. So I came out here and I met some friends and like, yeah, winter is okay. And I just thought, Winter is fantastic here. I love it.
It is the easiest winter I've ever been through was out here after leaving Chicago.
I totally agree. And then so yoga came into play at that point too, a few years after I changed my diet. And
I do want
to in the morning.
I do want to go back to what you said about running the triathlon and you didn't really know what it was. I feel like 90% of the people that like start running marathons and triathlons somehow get tricked into it. It just, it feels that way. But then another thing you were talking about was how you're not worried about setting a record. I have a couple of friends that do like ultra marathons and these really long races. And they have that same mindset of like, I might finish last, but I'm going to have the best time. Yeah. So like, you don't have to win every race to still enjoy yourself when you're doing those long competitions.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think someone said to me a long time ago when a yoga colleague said to me, we all write our own rules. And I think it's so true for everything in life, whether it's food or exercise or policies on ourselves on what we're going to do and how much we're going to endure. And for me, like, I really feel like I have a very low pain threshold. So when I'm out there, I'm like, well, I'm going to walk the water stations and then get back on it. And maybe I'll take a break here, or I'm going to stop for just a minute and collect myself, where other people are like, I'm doing it and I'm going to finish and I'm going, balls to the wall and I'm going to do, the best I can. But for me, that is the best I can. I just don't have that wiring of competition, but it doesn't mean that I can't go out there and enjoy it. Just like the competitive athletes.
Well, and I think that because this goes into what I talk about a lot with the hiking is I don't have to be, like, I don't really like 14ers. I like 13ers because 14ers, I feel like people do 14ers just so they can say that they did the 14er and they don't really get as much out of it as somebody who's doing like a 13er just to enjoy their time out in nature. So I think there's definitely ways that you can enjoy yourself without having to be that, like you said, super athlete or something like that.
Yeah, definitely. I think, and I've gone through the motions on this too about, what I'm going to post. And there's a fine line between like bragging and being proud of yourself. So it's something to question, at least for me anyway, anytime I post. I mean, back in the day, I was just posting stuff all over the place, especially in my early yoga days. I mean, if there was a Facebook post, I'm doing a yoga pose outside somewhere. And now I'm pretty horrified about it, but it was a experience for me. I'm horrified because the whole world got to see that too, that fun learning experience for me. But that's just not my scene anymore. I think it's great when people do that. If that's what they want to do, that's awesome. But it's just for me, I feel like I've grown a little bit from that.
And I said this on an Instagram live I did the other day. The thing with social media is the people that are really good at it are the ones that do it to tell a story about themselves. But for me, especially, I try to tell the story about my journey. So there's a hero in every story. And these people that are like doing dance trends and things like that, they're making great content. They're the hero in their story. But for me, as somebody who's just trying to inspire people to get outdoors, the hero in my story is the journey that I'm taking. And I'm just telling it through my eyes. But you could kind of replace me with somebody else. Don't, because I really enjoy doing this. So don't replace me yet. But, it's something that could be out there. So I totally understand that. Yeah. When you did change your eating habits, did you immediately go to a plant-based diet, or was it a lot of trying to figure out what was going to be best for you and your family?
It's a really good question. I definitely had trial and error. I didn't wake up and was like, oh, I'm plant-based forever. It starts with like anything else, I'm inspired by something. One thing was Forks Over Knives. It's a documentary. It's, I don't know, probably about 12 years old at this point, but it's still really good. And it got me thinking about what's going on in my body when I put things in it that probably are not so great. So it was a lot about questioning what was happening, because I really was desperate. And I say that word with all the purpose in the world. I was desperate to change how I thought about my life, because I had the mindset of like, if I die tomorrow, I will not be grateful for my body. And that's unacceptable. So that was what I really wanted to change. So watching documentaries like that, reading and doing my own research, asking my own questions, which I think is a really good thing to do for everyone. I'm not saying everyone needs to be plant-based by any stretch of the imagination. I've discovered over the years that that's not my platform. I wasn't put on this earth to do that. I do think it's important to ask questions and journey on what you're eating and how it's affecting you. And if you did make a change, how is that going? And is it making you feel better? Timing, what you're eating, what's going on in your world. Because ultimately, I just really wanted to find some inner happiness. And the weight loss, which was my primary goal in life, every day, eat, breathing, and sleeping weight loss, ended up just being a really minor side effect to the process.
That I love the way that you just said that, was that when weight loss was no longer the focus, it became kind of the result. If I heard that right.
Yeah.
And I think too, another great thing that you were talking about is people have to try to, there's so many fad diets and so many instant weight loss and instant satisfaction things in today's society, that I love to hear that you tried different things and you tracked how it affected your body, and you tracked how you felt and how it worked out. I think that's really important for people to know, because I'm guilty of this. I'm like, oh, no carbs, sure, and I'll lose 20 pounds and then I'll gain 30 back, and like, it's hard for anybody to know what's going on. Going back to social media, you have all these people touting different diets and be like, you can look like me. I'm like, well, I'm not 19. I'm not going to look like you, and I think different parts of your life and different parts of your, lifestyle are going to greatly affect the things that a diet can do for you. But
terrible for your, for self-esteem. Like, do I actually want to look like that person? I mean, that's a lot of pressure, and it's really unfair and unrealistic. And I think finding your own way to that happiness and what's right for you is going to be different for everybody else. But we do have this constant pressure around us, and it just depends on how much we can evolve from that, so that we can find our place. I did do a vegetarian diet for a while, and because I loved milk, and I went off milk, and then I went back on. It's back and forth. It's not instant. It's definitely trial and error, and sticking with the ultimate, I think, mission, which is to find what works for you.
Currently, are you 100% plant-based in your dieting?
I've been plant-based for about 13 years, with the exception of rare times where I'm in a celebration place and somebody there have cake. I might eat a piece of cake. I try to make it like a true celebration. The other times is when I am kind of doing research, and if I want to try something because I want to try to veganize it, basically, I want to make sure and get the flavor profiles as close as I can. I never eat meat or anything derived from like chicken broth, but I will taste some things with dairy, so I can get a flavor profile. Or if I'm just, in the mood to celebrate and I want to have a piece of cake, I'm going to go ahead and do that. I don't know what percentage it is. I mean, I'd say like 98. I mean, every day I eat plant-based for the vast majority. But there are some moments. And like I said earlier, I write my own rules, and those kinds of rules really seem to work well for me, because the dairy was definitely the culprit. There is no question about it. Cheese, ice cream, brownies, cookies, all that stuff was a big addiction for me. So by cutting that out nearly entirely, made the biggest difference in my life. And meat was never a big deal because I just never really ate it anyway, so I didn't really care. But for other people, it might be like meat is everything, and they want to keep that in their diet, but maybe they want to change it up a little bit. Like maybe I'll eat meat 3 days a week or whatever. It's just about asking questions, and if there's something that needs to be changed.
And again, it's what you found for your body, your particular body, and what worked for you, right?
Exactly. It's a very, very personal, experience.
Now for me, because I do eat a lot of meat, and meat eats a lot of plants. So does that make me plant-based? No, I'm just kidding. I do want to talk to this book. So you've been plant-based now for, you said 13 years. How long was it until you wrote this book that I'm holding up for the YouTube audience, Table to Trail?
I was about 10 years into my plant-based life. So what happened was I found my love of hiking, and I found my love of making plant-based food. And I never really merged them until I moved out to Colorado. So once COVID hit, that's when hiking and food really started to take a precedence. I mean, I always was super psyched about, bringing food out on the trail, bringing unusual stuff, aside from, a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but if you have time and you can plan, elevating that a little bit is just a great thing. And it just tastes so good outside. But I just wanted to, do something about this passion of mine that just would not quit. And once COVID hit, I was done teaching online, Zoom yoga classes. It was, so that part of my world kind of ended abruptly. And I just kind of woke up one day and said, I'm writing a book. And my husband said, it's about time. And so I decided I was gonna map out 50 trails. I was gonna develop 50 recipes and take them all out and see what happens. There was a lot of trail fails, but there was a lot of really good stuff too. It was a great adventure, and it was super fun.
And I'm fascinated about cookbooks because, like, I like to say that I'm a good cook. I'm not. But I have like the 5 things that I like to cook. So I just cook the same thing kind of like over and over again. In the book, is this stuff that you are like your favorite or your family's favorite? Or is it something that you like went out and tried to pair, if you will, the recipe for the trail that you were doing?
That all depends on weather and how long is the trail, things like that. How much time do I have? Am I traveling and then doing the trail? So there's a lot of factors that definitely go into it, but everything I made in there is trail worthy. And that's what's really fun about it. I've sectioned out the book so that there's snacks. So I'm doing a 1.5 hour hike, let's just say. And I know I'm probably going to be hungry halfway in. So I'm going to bring, whatever snack around, along with me. Or if it's going to be longer, there's sandwiches, or I think I called them one-handed, there's empanadas and shepherd's pie and like handheld kind of meal break. And then there's salads. And there's some interesting salads in there too that are a lot of fun to bring out on a trail. I love bringing salads on a trail. And then there's like one bowl meals. So that's for like, I'm super hungry and I need to I did Mount Bierstadt. I've done that a couple of times actually, but the last time I did it, I brought a Buddha bowl up there and I'm like sprinkling cilantro and topping it with my almond Krishna dressing. People are looking at me like, what is she doing? But it was great. It tasted awesome at 14,000 feet. Super fun.
Oh, that's the best. I mean, everything tastes good at 14,000 feet, doesn't it? I mean, it's just like everything tastes so much better at 14,000 feet. Look at thumbing through the book here. I'm interested in the calzones with roasted vegetables. That looks like one of my favorite ones. But a question, so are you, in these recipes, are you teaching people, you're cooking them beforehand as a prep? You're teaching people like to make things when they're on the trail? Do you have to cook, add stuff to them when you get on the trail?
The only thing you have to add really is any garnishes that are, pretty much optional. Everything's prepped prior. So you'll just need to, look at the climate and say like, oh, I'm going to need an insulated bag for this, or actually I don't need anything for this, or maybe I'll need a little cool pack just to make sure. But other than that, they're ready to go.
And and this is going to put you on the spot right here. I'm going to like ask you to tell me which kid you love the most. What is your favorite recipe in the book?
Oh gosh. If I'm going to go for the gusto, it's in the bowl section, the one bowl meal section, and it's an Egyptian recipe called koshari. It is like the vegan hamburger helper. It is delicious. It's so good. It's just so good. And it tastes even better the next day. And just, warm it up for a little bit, throw it in an insulated thermos and bring it out on the trail. Especially, fall would be a great time for that. Even winter, do a lot of winter hiking too. But yeah, it's so good. It's got elbow macaroni and beluga lentils, which are these little teeny black lentils, and brown rice and crispy onions and tomatoes and spices. It's really tasty.
Now, you talked about a trail fail earlier. You mentioned it. Do you
Yeah.
have any good examples?
Yeah, I had this one. There's this grilled portobello mushroom sandwich that I love to make. It's super yummy. And I was like, I'm going to bring this out on the trail. And it was so bad. It's just not a good idea to bring a grilled mushroom sandwich out on the trail. That was probably my biggest, I think I was really hungry too. And I was so disappointed. I took one bite and I was like, oh no, this is not good.
Well, and I can see too, like some of these recipes that you're trying out before you know for sure. Like to me, a grilled portobello sandwich, as soon as I tried to take a bite of it, the entire thing would fall apart and it would be all over the ground and I wouldn't even get to eat my sandwich, So yeah. I'm sure there was a lot of that kind of trial and error stuff going on.
There's definitely a lot of trial and error. And there's just stuff that just doesn't work well on a trail. So I just try to stick with what I know works. But I think what's really important is, for me anyway, is the fails are the best part, That's where you learn. That's where the growth happens. So even though there's disappointment at the time, I know at some point I'll be like, I'll be glad this happened. I'll be thankful, in some, little way.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I feel like you never really learn anything in life until you have like adversity. So I'm sure that helped. What was the process like writing this book? Like just from like you said, you decided, COVID happened. You couldn't do the yoga classes anymore. And you just decided, and you said, I'm going to write a book. Well, what's next there? Like, what is that? Because I've been fascinated by authors. So where did that come from?
I just kind of went for it. It was like a sprint and I didn't really know what the end result was going to be at all. And I just learned as I went. It's kind of a learn as you go kind of thing. I did take an online course on writing and publishing and getting all the ins and outs of that, which was a really valuable experience for me. And so I did learn a lot from that. So that was really helpful. So I did that during the process as well.
And before you decided to write the book, were you always kind of like exploring in the kitchen, like creating these recipes, or were you?
Yeah, all the time. I mean, all the time. It kind of stems back to the very first plant-based meal I ever made. I think that kind of spirit and joy, it still lives within me today, even more so in a lot of ways. Like spices are just so amazing to experiment with, and you can go anywhere with those spices, from your kitchen, which is kind of a lovely thought.
I've always thought a fun little app that they should make is kind of like one of those dating apps where you swipe right or left. It just pops up like recipes and you swipe right. And then now that's what you're going to cook for the day. And it tells you what to cook and all that stuff. So maybe we can work on the app for this book right after that.
I love it.
Where can I get my hands? Well, I have my hands. Thank you so much for sending me a copy of the book. But where can a normal non-podcast host get their hands on Table to Trail?
Oh, just head over to Amazon. I do sell them locally here in Fort Collins. I have some wonderful stores. Savory Spice in Fort Collins has been a wonderful support. The Cupboard, REI. I'm trying to think where else. I know there's other places. I'm just drawing a blank. So, but yeah, Amazon is definitely the easiest way to get to it.
And search Table to Trail. The full title is Table to Trail, Plant-Based Portable Recipes for Day Hikers, correct?
Yeah, and I really and just put my name, Marty Cowan. It'll pop up even faster. A lot of times, like actual tables will pop up. So if you want to not sort through all that, just put Marty Cowan in there, and it'll pop right up.
And is it available? You sent me kind of the paperback picture book. Is there an ebook version? Is there a hardcover? Is it just the one version?
That's it. You got it.
I tried to write an ebook the other day, and it's really easy, but also really confusing. I do not recommend it.
I know it was an option for me to do an ebook, and I just thought I better just keep it as simple as humanly possible. So that was my thoughts behind that.
Well, and one thing that's great about the book is that you have pictures of all the recipes, which is important on an ebook, but you also have pictures of the trails that you like ate the recipes and like tied the recipes to. So you get both the hiking pictures and the nature pictures, and then you also get the recipe pictures. So I don't think that would work in an ebook format. And the book's put together really, really well. So well done, Marty.
Thank you.
Now I think we're ready for our first break, but when we come back, we're going to do a little bit of fun. We're going to do the always, challenging buffet rapid fire questions. Before we take that break, is there anything else that you want to let people know about plant-based dieting, table to trail, or anything else?
I would say if you are thinking about hiking and thinking about eating better, it's a great place to start. Is just super local. Make something in your kitchen that's easy to prepare, and find that natural area or that hike that's really easy to get to, and take your homemade meal out there. Find some time with nature, find a rock or a log to set yourself up as a little table and enjoy it, that time outside with yourself, and see where you go from there.
That is wonderful advice, and we will take a break on that. Marty, stick with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Fat Man Little Trail, the podcast. I'm sitting here speaking with Marty Cowan, the author of Table to Trail, the plant-based portable recipes for day hikers. And I was thumbing through this during the break, and I found about 12 recipes that I want to try. So I'm really excited to get that. If you're looking for the book Table to Trail, check out Amazon.com and search Marty Cowan, Cowan, and you will be able to find the book. Marty, it's been fun, but now it's time to get really serious. Are you ready for the buffet, the rapid fire questions? Here we go.
I'm ready.
Number one, would you rather be camping, glamping, or stay in a hotel?
Okay. Can you put me down for a semi-glamp? I like I said, I need a cot, or we actually just bought a teardrop trailer last summer.
Nice.
And that's really wonderful. And I don't know if I could go back to a tent from that.
Hey, we talked about it earlier. I think that, all the 20-year-olds that want to stay in their tents, they are welcome to. Give me a hotel room with a room service and a masseuse. I'm kidding. Don't get mad at me. But really, whatever makes you happy on the outdoors, I'm happy with that. Would you rather, number two, take a road trip or fly to your destination?
Okay, so if I were driving through Nebraska and Iowa, I would say fly me any day. Otherwise, I really love road trips. I absolutely love them.
I do too. Like, road trips are my favorite thing. Best road trip snack. What's your best road trip snack? I'm going to put you on the spot.
I would say I've brought anything on a road trip, from salads to soups to hummus. I'm pretty good at packing that stuff up, especially when I know I'm going to be in the middle of Nebraska where there's just a gas station and maybe like a McDonald's. So I love bringing soup because that fills me up so much. I have a lentil soup that's my favorite. So I would say that's probably my favorite thing to bring.
I think we've written your next book for you right there, Road Trip Snacks. Number three, and this is kind of redundant because it's what the whole podcast was about, but what is your go-to snack on the trail?
A go-to snack. I have so many. I love making various like muffins or bars, things like that, fruit, nuts, salads. I just like to bring everything. I don't know.
You can't pick just one. So mine is actually, and this is actually a fun story. So my favorite thing to eat on the trail are these white chocolate macadamia nut Cliff Bars. And I just found out that, Marty, you made one kind of inspired. I'm not going to say I inspired you, but I'm not going to say I didn't either, right?
You totally inspired me. And sometimes I get these ideas in my head from random places, and I will not quit until I've done it. And I was super psyched about it. I went and got the ingredients. I found a recipe online that is, it's a white chocolate macadamia nut Cliff Bar replica that you make at home. And whenever you can make stuff at home, that's really awesome. It's not processed at that point, or much less processed anyway. And you can, test that out, and it's always exciting to try. But the ones I made, I wish I could just teleport one to you because they're really good. We brought them yesterday to Arapahoe Basin. We did a last spring ski day yesterday, and everybody loved them. And I was like, I gotta thank Greg for that inspirational idea.
Well, they sound amazing, and I look forward to trying them one day. One day I'll get up to Fort Collins and I'll ring you up and say, hey, I want those snack bars.
Yeah, for sure. You could probably freeze them too. I freeze a lot of stuff and try it. I haven't tried it with those, but I'm pretty sure you could do that. And I think Cliff Bars should support you and sponsor you. Don't you think?
I've been saying that for months, but Cliff Bar is not listening. The problem with it, you can't freeze a white chocolate macadamia nut bar because they're too delicious. They don't last long enough to go in the freezer.
It happens all the time.
Now, number 4 in the rapid fire questions, these aren't really rapid since we're going on tangents, but number 4, I'm going to change up on you because it's typically first thing you eat or drink after the hike. But since your book is about, eating or all the food that you can bring to the hike, I'm going to change up this rapid fire question to what is your favorite container for bringing food on a trail with you?
My favorite container is probably the Swell container. It's S''WELL. I don't know if you're familiar with their products, but they're really great, and they keep things cold, they keep things hot, and they have these bowls that I haven't seen anywhere else that are insulated, and they have a container that goes within the insulated container. So you can say you want to put a salad in there, and you can put the lid on it in the inside container, put it in it's ready the next morning. You throw it in the insulated part of it and throw a lid on it and put it in your day pack and head out.
That sounds amazing because obviously when you're bringing your own food, you have to think of the packaging. And that's one question I forgot to ask you earlier. So it Swell, S''WELL.
Yeah, I love them. I mean, they're a little bit heavy, so they wouldn't be conducive probably to really extensive and difficult long hikes. But if you're just doing a day hike, like I would take that up to a 14er. That wouldn't be a big issue. But if I were doing longer term hiking than that, then if it's longer than a day hike, I wouldn't use those. You'd have to go to your, dehydrated foods.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Lighter. Yeah.
All right. Well, the number 5, you're doing great on the buffet, by the way. Number 5 question. This is the hardest question. If you could be anywhere in the world right now, at this moment, would you rather be in the forest, on a mountain, or at the beach?
Mountain, hands down.
I like it.
Forever. Yeah. Always a mountain. Yeah.
My favorite answer to that one is, and I forgot who it was, but they cheated and they said that they would rather be on a mountain lake next to the forest, on the beach of a mountain lake next to a forest. So they got all 3 of them in one, and I was like, come on, now you're just cheating. Marty, it's time now for the hike of the week segment. Typically, I'm the one that's going to tell you about my favorite hike of the week, but as my guest, the honor is yours. So do you have a hike that is one of your favorite hikes that you can tell the group about?
Yeah, definitely. I do a lot of local hiking here in the foothills, just because I do have a family. So I can't leave for too long. So I do explore quite a bit out here. And one of my favorite trails, and I didn't discover it until probably a year ago, and I just went on it again last week, and it's called the Soderberg Trail, and it's part of the Horsetooth Mountain Open Space. And it is a fantastic trail. It's probably about 4.5 miles, maybe 5. It's got a nice little elevation gain, nothing too horrible, but will definitely get your heart pumping. It's gorgeous, and it's right in my backyard. So I have to say that's my hike of the week.
I like it. I haven't spent enough time up in Fort Collins, but every time I go up north, I get distracted and I end up at Rocky Mountain National Park. But I need to keep staying straight on 25 and end up in Fort Collins. I also want to check out the Red Feather Lakes, which are up in that general direction, which I hear are also beautiful.
Really beautiful trails. It's great. We have a lot of open spaces. We have our Poudre Canyon, which has some amazing hikes. We're not very far from the Big Thompson Canyon, and if you keep heading up there, you'll wind up in Estes and Rocky Mountain. So for you, you'd have to be stuck passing Boulder and Rocky Mountain National Park to come up here, and that would be hard.
It is a challenge, but there are also some wonderful restaurants and breweries up in the Fort Collins area for people that are interested in that. So visit Fort Collins. We are now trying to get sponsored by the tourism board of Fort Collins as well.
Yeah. Yeah, and going to a brewery after a hike is the best.
It is. I can't say that because certain companies don't like it when you say those things, but I will say that for those that like to partake in that, it is a wonderful pastime.
Oh, it is.
Marty, we have come to the part of the interview that I always dread the most. I get nervous. It's time to ask the Fat Man, where you can ask me any questions, hopefully hiking related, that you like.
Great. All right. Well, I was actually curious. When is Fat Man Little Trail, the book, going to make an appearance?
I'm working on it. So I put together, I started this second website called 13 Hikes, and it's a website to try to encourage people to get out and, people that aren't typically going to be able to do the hike a week, or that might be intimidating for them. With 13 Hikes, it's to try to just do one hike a month, just to really kind of get them out and realize how wonderful nature can be. And with that, I took a lot of the writing that I did and I combined it into a book called Getting Started Tips, where I interviewed a bunch of I interviewed dietitians and physical therapists and meteorologists and like Osprey for backpacks and Keen for shoes and Solomon for clothing. So I interviewed all these experts to just kind of give their expert opinion, and I turned that into an ebook, my first ebook, which is it's on Amazon. I have 0 sales so far. It's been on Amazon for about a week now, and it's more so I just wanted to get that information out to people and encourage them to do it. But in that process, I realized that I've written a lot over the last few years. I think I'm up to like 450 posts on my website and like almost 800,000 words or something like that. And I have a lot of content and probably enough to turn into a book. So I am slowly working on Fat Man's Ramblings. Nope. Sorry, that's the non-working title. The working title is Screw It, I'm Trying, A Fat Man's Journey into the Mountains, where I combine kind of a lot of the Fat Man's Rambling posts that I do on the website into a book format so that, and expand on them a little bit. And I'm hoping to get that done maybe in the winter when I slow down with the hiking a little bit, start working on that and have it hopefully out for next year. I think that would be fun.
So how do we find your book on Amazon?
The best way is to search Greg Sakowitz. Like I said, if you search like hiking tips, you get about 15 million things. But the ebook is available on Amazon. You can also get it on the 13 Hikes website. So you can get, it's not an Amazon version, but it's a downloadable version of the ebook on 13 Hikes as well.
Great.
It's interesting. It's such a process because it's so, you think it's so scary to write a book until you realize that like you've already done most of the work. It's just compiling at a certain point. And that's what I'm hoping that maybe I can pull that off. And it seems like the way you printed out this book, and this book is gorgeous. This is such a professionally done book. Everybody check it out on Amazon. Table to Trail, plant-based, portable. I can't say table to trail. No, I get lost. Table to Trail, plant-based, portable recipes for day hikers. Search Marty Cowan. Is it Cowan?
It's Cowan, but I'll gladly answer to either way.
Marty Cowan, Cowan. Search that on, and Marty, Marty. Search that on Amazon, and you'll find the book. I'm going to say it one more time just for fun. Table to Trail. Table to Trail. Table to Trail. The plant-based portable recipes for day hikers. I got it right 3 times in a row. I think that's all I can. I hijacked your question. Did you have any other questions for the Ask the Fat Man segment?
I did have one more. I just thought, is there any particular stories, maybe from your 13 challenge experience, that really resonate with you and keep you motivated to keep doing what you're doing?
I go back to the first story that I did actually. And I don't know if I'm thinking about this right, but the first blog that I really wrote that actually got popular was called "Screw It, I'm Trying," and it turned into my mantra for all of my hikes. So I was always a person who was going to sit on the couch and just be happy sitting on the couch and get fat and lazy and go to work and then come home and just go right down to the couch again. And then I decided to go out and start hiking. And instead of saying no to everything that was presented to me, like, do you want to go hike? No, no, I can't. I have to sit on the couch. Do you think you can do that mountain? No, 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 I can't. Now I've kind of taken to the approach of just screw it. I'm trying. And the blog itself is the 5 stages of grief. But instead of for grief, it's the 5 stages of hiking for an overweight, out of shape person who started hiking. So, part of it is, and I actually have it right here. So, like, there's 5 stages of grief are denial, anger, bargaining, depression. So, like, the bargaining stage is, dear Jesus, Muhammad, Ganesh, Gaia, little elf dude that lives in the trees and makes cookies, or whoever's in charge of this, please, no more ups. I can deal with flats. I can deal with flat and rocky, and flat and sandy. I can deal with down. I like down. Gravity finally is on my side when I go down. So it's kind of a blog of just like looking at it from a person who's trying, and they know they're not really succeeding, but they're going to keep trying anyways because they're enjoying themselves for the first time in a long time. And that's what Screw It, I'm Trying is to me now. So it's like last year I decided to go out to Arizona and Utah on road trips, and I was like sitting and planning them out, and I was like, well, I can't do all this is crazy. And I was like, you know what, screw it, I'm trying. And I decided to go. And it really kind of just keeps me motivated and going. Like on days I wake up and I'm like, oh, my legs are a bit sore because I hiked yesterday too. Do I really want to go out today? And then I just kind of think to myself, well, screw it, I'm trying. And I get out of bed and I throw the hiking clothes on and grab the poles and pack the backpack, and out the door I go, and I give it another shot. So I don't know if that answered the question exactly as you were asking it, but
Yeah, and you also gave us a mantra too, that I believe so many can resonate with. I never thought about "Screw It, I'm Trying" being a mantra, but it's perfect.
well, yeah, I don't try to do things traditionally. I try to do them as opposite as you can and still get the same results. But it's worked for me because, there's a certain point I think you have to be honest with yourself with it as well, where, if you're polite to yourself, you're not always going to get the results. So, my attitude was no, but I didn't have a reason for no. So, like, if you're asking somebody and they say no right away, you just, come on, okay, screw it, I'm trying, and you just, it had the same power or more power than the immediate no that I would say when somebody asked if I wanted to do something, or if I asked myself if I wanted to do something. So I think it just kind of worked out for me. And
It works really well. I may have to borrow that, especially when I'm like huffing and puffing. I feel like my heart is going to pound outside of my chest from, elevation gain and steep inclines and stuff like that. So I think it's great to just say, hey, screw it, I'm trying, doing the best.
Well, and when you get like halfway up and you're leaning against a tree and you're about to quit, that's the best time to do it. And it's usually on the exhale, you go, screw it, I'm trying. And then you just move on up the hill,
Yeah,
that's how I do it.
Yeah, I did the Manitou incline last summer for the first time. And I think I used a variation of your mantra on that. And it was so hot and horrible, but I did it.
I actually had a conversation with someone today, and they were telling me I had to do the Manitou incline, and I have no desire to do that. For those of you not in Colorado, the Manitou incline is basically a staircase that goes up. What is it, like 3,000 feet in elevation or something like that?
Yeah, it's 0.88 miles, so it's less than a mile, and 2,000 feet of elevation gain, and it's brutal, especially in hot weather.
Yeah, and it just, like, to me, it doesn't sound interesting to me. Like, I know that like a lot of people do it, but the only, like, let me ask you this: why did you do the incline?
Well, my husband and son were biking down. I drove them up to the top of Pikes Peak,
Okay.
and so I had to wait for them to come down. So I parked down at the base of Manitou Incline and did that just to kill time. And it was actually really fun. And this other woman I met, she was from Minnesota, and I kept going, come on, Minnesota, you got this. So we were kind of supporting each other on the way, and we both made stop. And she said to me, she said, "I never would have done it without you." And I said, "Vice versa." Right back at you.
Oh,
So it
that's
was great.
awesome.
Yeah.
Like everybody I hear that when they say they did the incline, they're like, it was horrible. It was the worst experience of my entire life. I loved it, but it's more of like, you want to say you did the incline than actually doing the incline.
Yeah. Yeah. I would do it again, but probably in a little cooler weather. That would be preferable.
Sure. And it's something that, I want to do for the website and for the experience, but I'm not looking forward to it in the least. And that's the one thing that Screw It, I'm Trying has not worked out for yet. Partially because there's so many like other really cool hikes in that area that aren't as crowded, and you can just really enjoy yourself down in the Colorado Springs area. Also, for those of you listening, if you are just think you're going to come and do the incline right now, they have gone back to a ticketing system, I believe. So I think you need the tickets in advance before you can get into the parking area and before you can hike the incline. So make sure that you check that out as well.
Those reservations, which actually I knew the parking reservation, which is probably first and foremost, but the actual reservation to do the incline, I have. For some reason, I couldn't find it, and we were late. I said, screw it, I'm trying. I'm going to go. And I had a $20 bill in my pocket in case they tried to turn me away for a little bribery if needed. I just thought, I'm out here and I need to kill time. So it worked out perfectly. Actually, I finished about 15 minutes before my husband and son biked down Pikes Peak.
Well, very cool. Marty, I forgot that we were doing a podcast, and we're just two hikers jamming right now, which is just as fun. But we should probably wrap it up here for everyone at home. I am going to say it one more time just to make sure. Table to Trail, Plant-Based Portable Recipes for Day Hikers. The book by Marty Cowan is now available on Amazon and at select stores in Fort Collins. Thank you so much for joining me, Marty.
Thank you so much. It was a great experience. I sure appreciate it.
I had so much fun and I learned so much, and I'm about to go cook a bunch of these recipes. So thank you so much. That is all the time we have for the podcast this week. Thanks again to my guest, Marty, for joining us, and check out her book on Amazon. I hope to see you all on a trail again really soon. And until then, happy hiking.